recorded class. All of you are most welcome, dear students. This is Ibrahim Khalil, Assistant Professor of English, Kumila Victoria Government College. An introduction to letter writing. With the advent of emails and modern technology, the concept of writing letters has taken a back seat, but the style persists and people use it while writing emails. Very important, with the advent of emails, that is at the very beginning of emails and modern technology, the concept of writing letters has taken a backseat. Actually, it's not for all types of letters, particularly maybe to informal letters, but formal letter exists as it was before, but the style persists and people use it while writing emails. However, drafting letters demands meticulous attention. You should be very careful in drafting any formal letter or any sort of letter. Therefore, one should be extremely careful about what is being written. This line implies not only for formal letter writing or letter writing. In your life, in this materialistic world, in any written document, you must be extremely cautious, because your written is a permanent document. There will be no scope in your life to deny anything in your written document. So be careful and attentive, especially in any written document. An introduction to letter writing. Following are some objectives of letter writing. What are the objectives of letter writing? A letter bridges communication gap between two or more parties. A letter can create awareness, inform or provoke a thought in the receiver or the mass. A well-written letter is a good way to express one's feelings. A heartfelt letter acts as a personal memoir and may be preserved by the receiver. If anything personal, reminiscing, which is involved with nostalgic events, the receiver will be interested to preserve it or keep it very sincerely and safely. The students, in this slide you will have types of letters. Letters are categorized into two types. Number one, formal letters. What is formal letter? What is about formal letters? These are also known as personal letters, usually written to family, friends, relatives, neighbors, or to acquaintances, the people you know. These letters may or may not have a concrete reason of writing. They may be written just to share an experience, inquire about someone's, how about updating someone with a general incidents, etc. In these letters, we cover personal letters, letters to family, letters to relatives, love letters, and letters to elderly people, and social letters, letters to friends, social invitations, congratulatory or apology letters, letters of condolence, sympathy, thanks letter, and so on. Number 2 is formal letter. What are the formal letters? These letters are written to discuss business, apply for services, make requests, file or register complaints, and so on. The foundation of these letters and categorization depends upon what is being discussed in the letters. The letters are, that is, the formal letters are short and to the point. The formulation of formal letters, letters of application, official letters, and letters to the editors of newspaper. What are the main elements of a formal letters are discussed below. A formal letter is composed of various elements that may change depending upon the nature of the letter. The main elements of a formal letter are given below. Formal letter writing is undoubtedly one of the most challenging types of letter format. When putting it together, often you are addressing a person or organization with whom you are not familiar, and the quality of your content, including spelling and grammar, will be strongly scrutinized. This line indicates that the last line or the last phrase of the last line in this slide indicate that you should be very careful. Again and again you must edit your writing while that is before submitting any formal letter. The elements in the elements of formal letter, at the very beginning, sender address. The sender's address usually is included in letterhead. If you are not using letterhead, include the sender's address at the top of the letter 1 line above the date. Do not write the sender's name or title as it is included in the letter's closing. Include only the street address, city, and zip code. What is zip code? Zip code, a postal code used by the United States Postal Service, USPS, introduced in 1963, and the basic format consisted of 5 digits. It's about USPS, especially introduced in the USA. ZIP is an acronym or abbreviation. It implies Zone Improvement Plan, and this ZIP is used by the American Postal Service. For example, zip code, the code of Kumilla is the postal code of Kumilla is 3500, like this one. Each and every postal office or sub office has its individual codes. Next, date. The date line is used to indicate the date the letter was written. However, if your letter is completed over a number of days, use the date it was finished in the date line. When writing to companies within the United States, use the American date format. The United States, that is in America, based convention for formatting a date places the month before the day. For example, June 11, 2001. Write out the month, day, and year 2 inches from the top of the page, depending depending actually it will depend on which format you are using for your letter. Either left justify the date or tap to the center point and type the date. Next element of a formal letter is inside address. The inside address is the recipient's address. It is always best to write a specific individual at the firm to which you are writing. If you do not have the person's name, do some research by calling the company or speaking with employees from the company. Include a personal title such as MS, Mrs., Mr. or Doctor. Follow a woman's preference in being addressed as Miss, Mrs. or MS. If you are unsure of a woman's preference in being addressed, use MS. Mr. for a male, Mrs. for a married female, Miss for an unmarried female, MS for a female whose status is unknown or would prefer to remain anonymous. Doctor for a person with the status of a physician or PhD degree holder. These are very obvious, clear, transparent elements of writing a formal letter. Dear students, you know many things earlier, as you are used to write you are used to writing formal letter from your earlier classes. Just I am reminding you for recalling your past memories. If there is a possibility that the person to whom you are writing is a doctor or has some other title, use that title. Usually people will not mind being addressed by a higher title than they actually possess. To write the address, use the US Post Office format for international addresses. Type the name of the country in all capital letters on the last line. The inside address begins 1 line below the sender's address or 1 inch below the date. It should be it should be left justified no matter which format you are using. Salutation. Use the same name as the inside address, including the personal title. If you know the person and typically address them by their first name, it is acceptable to use only the first name in the salutation. For example, Dear Lucy. In all other cases, however, use the personal title and last or family name followed by a colon. Leave 1 line blank after the salutation. If you don't know a reader gender, use a non-sexist salutation, such as their job title followed by the receiver's name. It is also acceptable to use the full name in a salutation if you cannot determine gender. For example, you might write Dear Chris Harmon if you are unsure of Chris's gender. A very important element of a formal letter is body. The body is the most important element of the letter. It can say to be the destination of journey, as it lays the reason behind your writing. It includes the message the sender wants to convey. While the body of a personal letter can be long and detailed, containing as many feeling, experiences, advice, news, etc. On a personal front bill, in formal letter, it is best to use short, clear, logical paragraphs to state your subject. Dear student, here it will be advice, not advices. It's typing mistake, because advice means suggestion and advices means news about trade and commerce, information about trade and commerce. There can be three subparts of the body of a formal letter for letter drafting as follows. An introductory paragraph stating the main point, middle paragraph justifying the importance, need of writing with supporting points, and a concluding paragraph restating the purpose and requesting for some action. The paragraphs of the body must be indented depending upon the style chosen. The student, one word very important here, indentation. You should have idea about indentation. When you will pass from one paragraph to another, at the very beginning of a paragraph, you have to leave some vacant space. For example, you can write one or two words, this length or this area of space. It is called indentation. The paragraphs of the body must be indented depending upon the style chosen. Be sure to skip a line between the salutation introductory paragraph and also between the concluding paragraph and closer. Margins must be left on all four sides of the letter. It creates attractive appearance of the letter. For block and modified block format, single space and left justify each paragraph within the body of the letter. Leave a blank line between each paragraph. When writing a business letter, be careful to remember that conciseness is very important. In the first paragraph, consider a friendly opening and then a statement of the main point. The next paragraph should begin justifying the importance of the main point. In the next few paragraphs, it's about a business letter. In the next few paragraphs, continue justification with background information and supporting details. The closing paragraph should restate the purpose of the letter and in some cases require some type of action. Or closing of a formal letter. The closing begins at the same vertical point as your date and one line after the last body paragraph. Capitalize the first word only. For example, thank you, and first word only, thank you, and leave your 4 lines between the closing and the sender's name for a signature. If a colon follows the salutation, a comma should follow the closing. Otherwise, there is no punctuation after the closing. So it's about punctuation. This closing, 2 important things. So one is capitalization, another is punctuation. Enclosures. If you have enclosed any documents along with the letter, such as a resume, You indicate this simply by typing enclosures, so one line below the closing. As an option, you may list the name of each document you are including in the envelope. For instance, if you have included many documents and need to ensure that the recipient is aware of each document, it may be a good idea to list the names. Block format. When writing business letters, you must pay special attention to the format and font use. The most common layout of a business letter is known as block format. Using this format, the entire letter is left justified and single spaced except for a double space between paragraph. Font. Another important factor in the readability of a formal letter is the font. The generally accepted font is Times New Roman size 12, although other fonts such as Arial may be used. When choosing a font, always consider your audience or reader. If you are writing to a conservative company, you may want to use Times New Roman. However, if you are writing to a more liberal company, you have a little more freedom when choosing fonts. Punctuation. What's about punctuation in formal letter? Punctuation after the salutation and closing, use a colon. After the salutation, never a comma, and a comma after the closing. In some circumstances, you may also use a less common format known as open punctuation. For this style, punctuation is excluded after the salutation and the closing. Types of formal letters. The formal letters are writing a request letter, a letter of interest, that is job letter, job application, a complete letter, an apology letter, a letter of appeal, an invitation letter, a resignation letter, requesting a letter of recommendation, interview thank you letters, a farewell letter, and a reference letter. Salutation for formal letters. Editors, postmasters, police officers, sir, madam, government officials, etc., sir, madam, principals and head of educational institutions, respected sir or madam, present or prospective employer, sir, madam, shopkeeper, businessman, manager, sir, madam, strangers and acquaintances, dear sir or madam, dear sir or dear madam. Concluding line. The concluding line comes at the end of the body of the letter. Always begin as a new paragraph. It is determined by the writer's relation with the addressee. For example, with regards, with warm regards, thanking you, with thanks, with best regards, and so on. Complimentary closure. It is a polite way to end your formal letter with respect. The traditional rule of etiquette in Britain is that a formal letter starting with dear sir or madam must end with yours faithfully, while a letter starting with sir or madam must end with yours sincerely. Principals, headmasters, and etc. use obediently. Editors, government officials, shopkeepers, private firms, etc. use faithfully, use truly. The spelling here, it will be use. Strangers, use faithfully. For employment, from one office official to another, complaints or requests to officials, use faithfully. Signature line, it is the last part of the letter where the sender signs off with his or her first and last name. The signature line may also include a second line in formal letters for the title or post of the sender, if appropriate and applicable. Key points of better letter writing, or especially formal letter writing. Number one, selection of concrete words. Words are the writer's tools, and the writer need to put the right word and right expression with precision. In a very concise form. It should, however, be remembered that right words become relevant only in the right context. For example, an emotional or flowery language has to be fully avoided in a formal letter. That is, if any formal letter indicates or implies that you are a sycophant, and it will be termed as very bad, and your purpose will be spoiled. Second points of better letter writing: to the point content. Nothing more is harmful to good communication than confused state which may result in not conveying the exact point. Before writing a letter, one should be sure of what one wants to convey. That is, you want to write something, you want to write an application to the principal of your college. Before writing, you have to be you have to have some pre-ideas in your brain. What will be my starting paragraph? That is what is at the what we'll write at the very beginning, in the middle, and at last. That is what I need to convey. That is, for example, you are sick. You can write an application to the principal of your college for some days leave of absence, or you commit a mistake. You can write an application to the principal for remission of fine, and so on. That is, before writing a letter, again I am uttering, one should, that is, you should be, or we should be sure of, certain of what we want to convey, what we want to tell or communicate to the person I want to fulfill my purpose. In applying the facts and methods, one should not be vague about one's objectives. Nothing should be vague, nothing should be obscure, nothing should be in the dark. Everything should be transparent, clear, concrete. Consciousness for formal letters must be conscious. That is very brief according to the format and rules regulation. Informal letters, especially one must not write unnecessary sentences. To the point information or inquiries prerequisite, very essential, often official correspondence. Long illustrations and elaboration must be avoided at any cost. Number 4 is courtesy. A letter reveals its writer's personality and character. One must remain totally professional while writing a formal letter. That is, the student should be student. You, as you are student, you writing to your principal should express that you are student. You are not principal's colleague. A teacher should be a teacher. That is, the person who you are writing, it should be reflected in your writing. Even while writing a complaint letter, care should be taken that it is that is phrased in polite and civilized language. Good judgment determines what and how a point has to be conveyed. Number 5, correct use of punctuation marks. Use of punctuation marks, use of capital letters, commas or colons must to make your writing effective. Sometimes placement of commas or full stop at a wrong place may change the meaning of a sentence, can steal the effectiveness of a good letter. Hence, utmost attention should be paid to punctuation while writing. Number 6, style. The conversational style is the most suitable one in writing a formal letter. It is best to write in a simple, clear style, maintaining a logical sequence of ideas. Every sentence should grow out of the preceding one. That one, the sentence which are writing, the sentences you are writing, one should be connected with another. That is, the sentences should be interconnected very logically. Every sentence should grow out of the preceding one, that is earlier one. There should be no abrupt jumping from one idea to the another. Elements of a formal letter at a glance. We are very at the end of our lecture or class today. Number 1, sender's address. Very careful. Just I am recapitulating for you a brief idea at a glance. Number 1, sender's address. Date, receiver address. Number 4, subject. 5, salutation. 6, content, specific to the point. 7, concluding lines. Number 8, complimentary and closer. 9 is signature along with designation or title. This is the end of my class. All of you are most welcome.